Hey guys, welcome back. This is it for this campaign. There will be a new campaign starting in January, but this one's gonna end here. I think, Adam, were you gonna give us just a brief rundown of how what happened post
Sure,
post fight?
I can do that if you like.
Yeah, just a real brief one, just for a little bit.
So, Bereatim and Dolphidius, with Thaddeus and Eldrin in hand, arms length, carry themselves hours and hours of trudging back up the stairs, through the temples, back through the secret corridors, back through the fire temple, all the way to the surface.
And when they get to the surface, did they remember that they had forgotten Thaddeus's leg, or did they just leave that?
I didn't lose a leg.
The one-legged Thaddeus.
The one-legged Thaddeus is taken to the boat, dropped on the
He's
deck.
gonna be so much more ferocious when he hops after the enemies.
Yeah,
instead of running.
It's not gonna be 1 foot. He's gonna give him a peg leg. He's 100% gonna be pirate Thaddeus.
No,
after
don't
this.
do a peg
Pirate
leg.
Thaddeus.
Because what we can do is it's like a spinning top style situation with his hammer. I think is much more effective on the one leg.
Yeah, but that's what the peg leg lets him do. That's the ability it unlocks. You're gonna spin
It's
so
got a
much faster.
turntable.
Peg leg. That's true. That's fair. Yeah, it's much better to rotate on.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail. So peg leg Thaddeus makes it out.
Absolutely fine. With Dolphidius watching over their bodies, Tim takes the reins of good old Agatha and takes us down to Waterdeep.
The
The
reins.
sail is peaceful and quiet, with Thaddeus asleep on the floor.
He's
in a
While
death
we're sailing,
coma.
ask if Tim if they need any surgery.
Dolphin will perform minor surgeries where required. The bodies come out with more incisions and cuts than needed.
Also,
Do
I
you think a
back-
corpse or a rock would win a fight?
it's, as I respond to him in deep thought, I lose concentration and manage to cut myself as well while doing surgery.
Excellent. Arriving at Waterdeep, the party seeks out help and aid in the same place where they took Chakolth.
Oh no! Go to Brother Time, for God's sake! I guess I don't have a say in that. We're all gonna end up in the white.
Yeah. The whiteness.
How much party gold did we have left?
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't know.
I can help you with that, and I'm still alive. Definitely help you with that.
At least the bookkeeper's still alive.
Okay,
Probably
we
took a
have a
stick.
grand total of 4,404.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So if you had to choose Dolphin, who would you resurrect?
No. We can sell Thaddeus's stuff to get him.
So you sell some magical items. Oh.
Yeah, that's why he gets a peg leg. We started off with a really nice prosthetic for him, but no one could afford it and the resurrection.
So Thaddeus ends up with a +2 peg leg.
You're dead. Be
And is
quiet.
brought back to life along with Eldrin inside the temple. There is no update on Chakolth. And it seems he's
Peg
just been
leg is
left
just
inside
his
the whiteness.
rib.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I
I
think
hate you all.
I feel like we would fade to black with Thaddeus saying, "What have you done with my leg?"
Wow. It's been a long. This has been a. I mean, this is I think season 4, season 3. Can't remember for me. But this has been a
4.
really good one. It's been a nice long path. I think. Do we want to debrief as part of a video, and then we'll maybe make one more cut, and then do basically talking about next campaign stuff. Do you guys want to
We can do
debrief a
that.
little bit on this one? Do we do it live?
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, what were people's thoughts?
So this was a
the
module. We're
adventure.
running a module on this. I'm saying this for YouTube's benefit here. And I liked how it started, and then I think it devolved into a dungeon crawl almost entirely. And I liked how hard the fights got. This was a fun fight for me, this last one. I liked a couple of the other hard fights as well. I liked that difficulty of the fighting. And I like fighting in D&D from time to time. Like I like a fair amount of it. It's just this devolved into almost entirely fighting. And it was nice when you added the descriptions at the beginning of things to give some character to our enemies, to make some personality behind the evils and stuff like that. That was good. And reading some of the lore and meeting some of the people in the area was good, but it was still basically just a dungeon crawl. And that is not in any way your fault, Adam. That is the downside of running a module. So I'm looking forward to the next one not being a module, because I would like the mix of, I like the story-driven reasons for doing things. You know, when I kill cultist number 78 with his fire trophy, I'm a little bit, you know, I'm like, I could have stopped at 77 and been okay, you know? So.
I feel like the module could have had a much more stronger showing if the sections of the cultists were not all interlinked.
Yes.
So if it was almost like floors, and then you complete that section, and you go back up, and you go do some stuff on the surface, then you go back down another floor, you know, or whatever. If they were almost like individual rather than just one.
Yeah, because we get sucked
massive.
We get sucked into, it was a fucking like mega city underneath this hill.
Yeah.
Like that someone
I think
somehow...
that was the first thought I had.
That's
about
literally what it
the
was, a
campaign.
mega city.
Yeah.
Like it was an old dwarven city. Yeah.
And I don't understand how the people of this area could just not know that they're like the supplies to feed 20,000 cultists going into this place daily.
The logistics alone.
I know, right? Like, oh, the Slumber Hills, there's, you know, some weird happenings around here. You mean like the caravans of food coming in every day? You know, like, or they, I mean, it's not like they're growing crops in the caverns beneath us. So it's just it's a bit much for that. But yeah. I think I want to revisit item rules. I think items were a little bit too abundant in this campaign for me.
Really?
What? Sorry, overloaded. You say?
Items.
Yeah.
A little overabundant. I think we got the fact of just being able to. It was interesting because Adam, you're a very permissive DM, and like I kind of like that in some degree because it means that it's on us to make sure that we're not being ridiculous. But I think this is one of my sanity checks. Is I think our availability of magical items is too easy for us. It makes finding magical items less fun because we can just buy whichever ones we want. We can buy better ones, and it makes stacking AC, for example, just ridiculous or something like that. Because we have like +8 protective. You know, Thaddeus is wearing like 3 cloaks of protection, 2 +1 shields, and a magic ring.
None of that's true. We each have a +1 weapon, and we each have what, +1 or +2 protection.
+2 weapon.
Okay, you have a legendary.
He's got
But
a fire immunity.
So
+2.
before we move on to like rules and things like that, what did the other three of you think of the campaign? So Kevin.
Oh yeah, right. I'm not just talking to myself here on a.
Yeah, you're now that your rant is over. Yeah, who's going next?
You go first, Kevin.
Yeah, it was a little bit too dig into the anthill and never escape the anthill kind of experience. I think that playing the straight man for 3 comedians was a little bit tricky, but that wasn't the fault of the module. That's the fault of the fact that I had a humorless character that. Yeah, so
I thought you were like the funniest character is the thing. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no. Being the butt of all those jokes was the funniest thing. There wasn't a funny thing about Thaddeus.
No, I loved your character. I love how serious your character was. Like that was like when we're saying we want like a Thaddeus only episode. That's because I enjoyed how dedicated Thaddeus was to the character. You know what I mean? It was so easy to picture the world of Thaddeus, you know what I mean? It was so easy to see through those eyes.
Yeah,
so,
I
I
thought you did
don't
a
know.
nice
I
job with
really like
Thaddeus
the character.
Yeah.
So I that was one of the oddities of the campaign, that instead of getting to be equally zany, I was dragged in zany while trying to be serious, and that was a super odd portion. See, and there were pieces that I struggled with, like the XCOM peeking rules and some of those things, but I didn't struggle with the magic items.
So I found for us to kind of elaborate on that just for half sec, like we were given a lot of, I mean, because it was a dungeon crawl, all we ever found was gold and basically magic items, right? Those are the only things we ever brought out of there. And then like we were able to convert that gold into basically endless potions and magic items, which fucks with everything, right? Like it changes the fight balance and what is a precarious fight and what is a interesting loot situation because of that. I mean, like, what were we gonna get? Like, finding a magic shield is barely a replacement for anybody. Finding a magic weapon, we're selling magic weapons rather than being like, oh my god, this is so cool. You know, like this is something our characters would really like, be like, oh, this is an amazing item that we're gonna use because we can just go buy a +1 rapier or whatever else. So, I don't know. for me, it was interesting. So that didn't bother you, huh? The item stuff at all?
No, because we're level 9. At level 9, you should have at least entry level heroic gear. You shouldn't be walking around with like borrowed magic items that you found on some corpse someplace. You should have something that was crafted, and I don't know. At level 9 you are heroic enough that you should not be like still carrying your grandpa's sword unless it's legendary.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's a preference thing then, because I just could imagine a world in which, you know, one of the hooks is, you know, there's the, you know, the tomb of the, you know, the tomb of the ancient evil dwarf god or whatever, whose magic hammer has been lost for ages, but has now been his tomb has been recently discovered, and you're like, well, shit, my guy wants a hammer, like we could go and like get that, and like that kind of like finding it, as opposed to I go to the local magic gear mart and I go to aisle 7 and purchase 3 magic rapiers and a cloak, you know, like that kind of kills it for me.
I absolutely buy that, except I think that as you get rich, you can buy +1s, generic +1s, and as you get filthy rich, you can buy a generic +2. If you wanted a special hammer, yeah, absolutely, you'd have to go to some, you know, forbidden crypt or something. Yeah. If you want anything better than a +2, you probably can't buy that on an open market. But I think 1s and 2s are available to rich people.
Of all types. Go on, Adam.
Dolphin, what do you think?
It was my first campaign, period.
Yeah, so
I think
what do
every
you think
other
of D&D
has
just
probably
in
done
general?
a campaign before. What do I think of D&D in general? It's fun. I'm glad that I was able to like do this, and now I feel like I can do it for any campaign. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like once you learn to ride a bike, it's just kind of a skill set you have after that. So it's nice. I like the campaign, just like off the top of my head. I didn't really mind the issues. I kind of like the idea of having weapons as a known reward for something, like the idea of like, hey, we're going after this as like a carrot, as opposed to like, hey, I've opened door 93 and there was a sword inside and there was a dope sword. It just happens to work. I like the magical items just because they feel like they give me more options. I've talked about it before. It's like, hey, sometimes it feels like the best thing I can do on any given turn is just toll the dead. Toll the dead, toll the dead, toll the dead. And I feel like when I have something like a magical item, I have more options than just that. Just a first take. But yeah, I enjoyed it. One of my first thoughts going back when we first started this campaign, when we were in the Water Temple, I remember thinking, like, this place is huge. I think I probably said it somewhere in the videos, like, multiple times. So yeah, I think I would echo all of Kevin's sentiments about that and all of your sentiments about that too, Filthy. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the roleplay component way more than I thought I would. I thought role-playing would be a little bit more like maybe acting or something like that, going into Dungeons & Dragons, something like more of a concerted effort. But really, to me, it's just been like, okay, if you have if you come up with crazy shit in your head for something you want to do, just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is what this is a lot more of than like, hey, I have a script in my head that I need to stick to. I have this list of character traits that I need to make sure that I'm always abiding by. I need to be as creative as possible. It's like, no, I have this cool idea. Why don't I throw it out there? I have time to think about it because I'm playing with, 4 other people.
And Kevin.
Kevin, yeah. Which counts as like 4 other people.
Yeah.
And you are super, super creative and consistent. I love the fact that 3 episodes later, you still, or whatever is it now, like 25 episodes later, you're still like, and I touch him, and I'm glad I have my invisible gloves on. The callbacks you manage, and the fact that there's this tapestry of dumb shit that continuously resurfaces is gorgeous, and I think that you are a big part of that.
I think out of all the players, Dolphin, you did an exceptional job of naturally evolving your character's traits and then sticking to them, and also just remembering all the random shit, like Kevin just said, that happened in the campaign, and just resurfacing those. the perfect moments. It was really good to see from us, especially from like a brand new player. Like the whole thing with the rocks, the gloves, and just how you naturally developed into the rolling an intelligence roll every so often to decide what you were doing. That became a really cool quirk, and the whole barbarian joke from, I think that was from day one, and it's even been mentioned today. I think that was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, sure, and I think it's a testament to the group. I think it was just pretty easy because again, it's my very first time, so it's easy to be nervous. It's easy to be like, okay, I don't know exactly how much to do or what to do when, and I think it was a good group to be able to open up and do all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate the opportunity. But yeah, I was really happy with the campaign. I think again the same sentiments as maybe Filthy. The idea is like I'm excited to see a world of your original creation and of kind of original creation in general, as opposed to a module. Just because I think some of my favorite parts of the campaign were the original creations. I think the conversations that were made up on the spot. I think going into the city and getting in the arena fight. God, whoa, Razzle, was that his name?
Dazzle.
Dazzle. That was so close. His twin. Like I love that. That was so much fun. So like the idea of more of that in another campaign, like, sounds like a blast. But yeah, that's all my thoughts.
Steve?
Yeah, I like the campaign. This is the longest campaign that I've played, and taking a character from level 3 to 9 was very interesting. I'm not sure if you had any of these issues, Kevin, because Thaddeus is the other character who was there from the start. But for me, I had an idea of what Tim liked to do and how I thought Tim would grow up as a character, and then the campaign caused him to go a different way pretty heavily. Like the going into Marden worship sort of stuff was very natural and fun, and I was really excited about it. But the rule set doesn't actually let me multi-class into Paladin or anything, so I couldn't seriously develop my character that way. And then Tim is like meant to be a hunter. He's meant to be someone who's very mobile and loves the outdoors and loves hunting beasts, and he's meant to be turning into a wizard as he levels up. And instead of getting to do any of that stuff, he was put underground in dungeons and given a +2 dagger, which meant that I actually took 20 dexterity instead of leveling up intelligence from spellcasting. So a lot of the frustrations I had with this campaign were how difficult it was to make Tim keep being Tim in an environment where I didn't feel like it was very easy for him to be Tim.
You were getting rewarded for being something other than Tim.
And I guess there's a piece of struggle around character development for me, because I ended up I had a picture of a 3-dimensional, as you say, kind of a growth and getting to know you as characters, and maybe Thaddeus eventually warming in some way that was barely perceptible, and mostly I ended up being a 2-dimensional hammer swinger and not getting a chance to tell the story of why I was so dark, or share those times around the campfire or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think that the moments where we stepped away from the dungeon and did something goofy in town, or we were learning to sail a boat, or whatever ridiculous thing we were doing, were the moments where I got to keep telling my character story and keep developing that more so. But the structure of all these dungeon fights and the items that we're finding, which aren't necessarily built for our characters in any way, they're just part of the campaign, and we get them.
I think that's a really interesting way to criticize that. I hadn't really put that together, but I hadn't really verbalized that complaint in the same way that you had, Steve. But mentally, I was kind of feeling similar. It was annoying to some degree to find stuff and be like, well, my character can't use this despite this being an incredible thing. And if I do want to use this, I have to. It's not easy to change things around in a D&D character. Like, you build so many things synergetically to create the character, and it's so slow over time you get to develop. And then additionally, you can't easily change those things up. Like the seventh level ability of a cleric means you need 7 levels in that cleric. You have to have chosen a race to get into that, and it's really focused on what you can and can't do. And yeah, I had that same frustration a little bit, that I felt that part of it was not me getting to develop a character, it was me trying to fit a character into an existing world, and that was a little frustrating for me as well. So that resonates quite a lot with me.
Yep.
And
Otherwise, like, I loved this group. I loved the campaign.
yeah,
I look forward to this every week. So,
yeah,
That's all good.
I like the humor. Like, it wasn't really where I wanted to go with Chakolth either. Like, Chakolth was also a bit of a darker character, right? But it just didn't really fit, like, our humor. It didn't really allow for a dark character there.
Well, no, because you got to be like sarcastically awful, and you got to like continuously say, I, I don't know, I'm gonna bump Thaddeus and make him trip as he runs into battle or whatever, and that totally was consistent with Chakolth being an asshole. So, you know, you got to be a troublemaker in a funny way,
Yeah,
and
but
that
I
totally
ended up
fit.
like Loki, right? Like, that was the kind of like
Yeah,
trick.
yeah,
Like,
in a lot of
that's
ways.
where I ended up kind of with the character. That wasn't quite what Chakolth was originally going to be, and
It's
I'm fun with that. But it ended up. I think the next character's personality that I create will take into account the people I'm playing with.
I was gonna say that has to just be the group. That can't be like, oh, the module or the DM. Like,
Right.
no, that's like for me. Because like, let's take Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness to me is the funniest ability that I've heard of in the entire game. And
No,
if
no,
you
it's
if you read the description of Heart of Darkness, it's basically like you're staring down a stupid commoner to get them to do or say something that you want them to say. That's hilarious. You're not using Heart of Darkness to go dominate the evils of the world. You're basically just a big ass bully. And that's my interpretation of the ability that makes it so funny. So no matter how you use it, it's going to be funny to me.
Yep.
And there's no way to change the module. There's no way to change the game. There's no way to change the set to do that. So that's tough. Yeah, like so if something like my reaction to what is essentially Heart of Bullying, like that's never gonna go away. We can
No,
play
no,
another
no.
campaign. Like the
No.
only way to change that is from like just me not being there to laugh at it, which is fine. I enjoy laughing at it. Maybe people enjoy me laughing at it because it's silly. It is.
They see the pain inside you. It's not Heart of Bullying. They see the anguish that you have gone through, and they go out of their way to help you.
So that they give you 5 gold. Yeah, it's like you're doing it
Give
for
me
a
your
reason.
lunch
You're
money.
not doing it to like, oh, let me express my anguish. They're like, hey, door, let me stare at you. Like, I don't know. Anyways, my original point is like I think a lot of that is it has to be the people that you play with, which in our
Yeah.
scenario is these 5 people.
I like these people.
Yeah, I do too.
I felt like this group when I was given the chance to play around with my character, I got to, and it went very well. No complaints there.
I guess the one last thought I have on that, just to kind of finish the thought, is like, I wouldn't want my approach to the game to ever stop somebody else from how they want to approach the game, right? Like, if that Heart of Darkness wants to be treated seriously, if that's going to be a somber thing, then like, yeah, like me sitting there and laughing at it is going to get in the way of that. And that's the thing, is like, I don't want that to happen. If somebody wants to have a type of serious situation, like, or they want to develop their like character in a way, I always want to.
I'm
I
not
never
sure it
want
would
to get in
fit
the way
though.
of somebody else's character.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure that's exactly right, Dolphin, because even if you were willing to like bite on your tongue and not laugh,
Yeah.
Tim was going to turn you into the rat in the middle of my like somber sermon, regardless. Like
Yeah,
one
that's
of
fair.
the 3 of you was going to
Yeah.
find something funny about it, and it's going to run off the rails.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So
but I
it
think
might
that
be
was
something to think about for character.
exactly.
Like, I don't mind making a more serious character, or the more like, not
Really,
an
I think
idiot.
I'm gonna go the other way. I think I'm gonna not. I don't think idiot or not. I don't think I have to go that route. But I think I'm going to pay attention to the fact of who I'm playing with when I create the character.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I was doing it again, I don't know that I would volunteer for straight man. I think I would totally make a jokester too.
Yeah.
I think having Thaddeus was so crucial to this campaign working though, as like a group.
Yeah.
I don't
Really?
know what we're gonna do without
Absolutely.
you if you're not back next year, Kevin. Because
Oh, this
I
is another
agree.
good time to guilt Kevin into this. Kevin,
yeah,
Kevin,
have to
the
find
group and the
somebody
party wouldn't be the
who
same
is
without you,
okay
man.
with being the butt of every joke, takes notes on everything so we don't have to, is okay with playing a character who stands in front of everything and just gets beat to shit so that we don't have to. Like,
No problem.
Who knows what lies ahead?
I was great at some of those things, that's for sure. Yeah. I could take a punch like nobody's business.
So I think from my point of view,
I like all the waddling. Who's gonna do all the waddling?
That's true.
Yeah.
the campaign felt quite stale once you guys basically got underground to me, and it was just a set of combat after combat after combat, and it really made it hard for me to be creative with the story. The story was also kind of very difficultly told to me as a GM. Like, I would have had to sit and read the whole PDF, and that just felt like a real slog because it wasn't an interesting kind of set place idea for me. And I think just the scattering, like the way it is supposed to be a sandbox, is actually quite poor in its design. Like, we discovered the first like road off that trail you took was like a sort of level 6 to 8 area, and you were level 3 or 4. And that sort of showed some red flags. But I think if you're as a more experienced DM or good at making stuff up on the fly and scaling encounters to players, you can probably take a hold of this and do something with it, as long as you're prepared for a very long dungeon crawl.
Yeah, it just never ended. I mean, I don't even think we were killing as quick as we could possibly kill, and it's just like goes on forever. I mean, like that last fight like was like three like recording sessions or something.
Yeah.
wood killed fire and water prophets.
We
And
chickened out
had-
when we should have gone. Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't we do the level 2 of the Earth Temple already too?
A bit of it.
Part
So
of
I
it,
think
yeah.
we were, I think, done with the brunt of the campaign. We were over halfway there, but we were only
Yeah.
level 9. Isn't that meant to take us up to 15? I'm a little
So,
curious how that would have scaled.
I think you guys would have probably got to like 12, maybe 13 at the end.
Oh, you think we don't get to 15?
Yeah, I think
So we
you're
weren't
just.
actually
I think
that
you're
far
just
away.
actually 2 levels. Like you're like what level you are. You're actually probably maybe 1 or 2 levels higher due to the classes, how well you fight together, and probably the amount of items you have
We're definitely a min-maxy group of players.
as well. Yeah. So.
Which I like. And as I said, I think
That's fine.
Adam has had the. I was worried about what that would mean from a DM, but Adam has had literally the perfect counter in a way to that. Which is normally, I feel like there's some like power like dynamics between the DM and the players. The players want it. There's stuff that makes them better, and the DM doesn't want that. Adam is just like, yeah, have it all. Absolutely, take it all. And like I feel like that the response from me this campaign has been, all right, I need to limit what we can do because if we just ask Adam, he'll say yes, and it's like, oh, can I have a fire-breathing flying dragon that is tamed to me? Yeah, I guess you could probably do that. Oh, I guess we have to
I
be like.
remember
If-
in the
if you-
Dearth episode, Adam was starting to look up rules for how to like have an ogre follower for our party because he was legitimately willing to accommodate that. I remember loving that so much. And then you killed him, if I remember right.
I think Chakolth killed him.
Was it
Yeah.
Chakolth? I think it was Thaddeus.
What?
It was the two
Nice.
of you, brothers in crime.
I might have. You're right. I might have done that
Yeah. So
back in my less tolerant days.
I think we
runs
should-
all the way up to today, really. I suppose.
It was great that Dolphidius got that moment to really shine with the aura, because that was what the character was sort of built around, right?
Yep.
And I feel like that was finally getting to see it really, really excelling in action.
I've had some viewer requests to talk about the character builds, both the why we built them the way we did and how we built them and whatnot. I mean, we could maybe consider doing that.
Yep.
Sure.
Filthy, you can cover mine.
You guys can do that.
Making like separate episodes,
Yeah, I'm
sort
not.
of thing.
I'm just trying to decide how we do that because I mean that's a little bit dry and not really where I want to go at this moment, but it is something that I might consider chatting about at some point. People asked about Chakolth. I guarantee that they're going to be asking about Dolphidius after this episode. Like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. No. And
Tim is a Bladesinger who got a 19 con amulet at like level 3 and got a +2 weapon at like level 6.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just built a completely stock standard Bladesinger and then got given the most ridiculous magic items you could ever get.
Yeah.
For
What
this
you
character.
need to know about my character is it's a light cleric, which means it can cast fireballs.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Yeah.
important. It can
Oh
also
man,
work.
the fireball quarter of the campaign was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Having I think next campaign everybody should have fireball just to streamline things.
That was our
I
intent. At one point, we had 3 of 4.
It's
I
funny.
would
I'll
love-
also say, as a new player, I was really amazed at how utterly useless healing is for everything. Like when I was like, okay, like if I was thinking about healing somebody and healing, like okay, potions. If I can like feed them a potion or something like them, if they're down, that's great. If they're down, I can use a minor healing spell to like get them back up, which is pretty effective, right? Like that's a very helpful thing for healing to be able to do. But yeah, is it really terrible by the numbers for just, hey, I want to heal everybody this turn, or hey, I want to heal that person this turn in combat? It's
Yeah, it never heals
and
3
even
damage.
just as spell slot, it's out of combat as a spell slot. It's a total waste. I was shocked. I don't know if that's better with another cleric roles, or
Well,
if that's just how we built the character.
I think
And
it
related
has to be
to that-
designed that way. Otherwise,
Yeah.
being the
too
tank,
powerful.
being the tank who's counting on healing in order to be able to continue to do the thing means that
You're not getting it.
I don't know that I would ever play another tank role unless I saw someone play this kind of character and do it well,
That's
and
right.
I got to go, oh, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Because I used half my abilities. None of them seemed to be worth a shit as I looked them over every time.
It's funny
I don't
because
know.
you know, Kevin, Steve and I both were like post this game. We're like, this might just be a grass is greener style thing, right? Because both Steve and I are like, man, we kind of want to play tanky characters this next round.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Got some volunteers.
Well, I did play a tanky character this campaign as well.
Yeah.
I want to play a tanky character who feels less broken than mine did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like
This
my
is
tank
again
was
like
too good.
the AC scaling was just out of control, and I think some of that. I mean, as you said, you got some absolutely nuts items for a Bladesinger, and then we were given access to AC cloaks, like on a character that's already AC stacked. Like,
Well,
my God.
and that's because you guys min-max, and so you you make broken characters. You can't complain about a broken character after intentionally building one.
Sure I can.
Actually, when I started my Bladesinger, it was not a min-max character. I deliberately built a character that I thought would be fun and not actually super powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly maxed for my character. I just maxed because, I mean, con was my min, and then I had 19 of it after like
Yeah, you had the highest
3
con in the party
for the rest of the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was a raw reward in the module, by the way.
yeah.
I didn't even roll that or design that. That was just, you're given this if you convince the Lich.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What was the Lich story?
He's a, like, I think he was like a fallen paladin, and his brother's tomb is, you know that place where he was like, don't go in there?
Yeah.
It's like his brother's tomb. It's buried in there. I get it, hang on.
Oh, it's not that important. I was just curious.
I've got a question. Who are those
But
damn
I've got-
people?
Go on, Gary.
Go ahead. Who are the damn people that were wandering around outside, like
Okay.
from place to place?
Okay, here we go.
Always-
Massive
always-
story spoiler.
Always 3 days behind us, right?
That was Tim's cousin trying to hunt him down.
That would have been so cool if he found us. I'm so sad he never found us.
Yep.
It's because he's shit at blade singing. He can't track in the wild. He's a little
So,
city boy.
They've
Little
been
city
doing that
slicker,
for
little
like,
shit. I would have killed him.
yeah, they've been doing that for a
I
while.
could kill him right now.
But yeah, I've even got some notes here that says like Lich raises a special party to attack. Renric comes back to life. Helenre's body revived. Jur, is he undead or not? Jolliver, he was burnt alive, so would we make him undead? So like I was like kind of assembling a party of all the bosses you'd killed that the Lich was maybe going to set on you as like an event. But yeah, there was like loads of little bits and pieces like that.
What about the wizard who I sold the dragon teeth
that? Was
to?
just complete flavor. None of that was ever going to have an impact.
Aw.
Well, maybe I don't know.
I could
if
tell
I'd
that
have
you
made that up enough as I was
created
going,
him, but yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
he
like,
would.
could've
The
come
fact that
back
his
the
name
next
was
time.
Wizard was sort of a giveaway that you were making it up on the spot, Adam.
I had to find someone to buy your shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that that'll be easier for next time.
So one of the things I would like to actually keep for going ahead is the life or death feel for some of these fights. And I felt like we ended up having to be absurd to get that feel. So to get that feel in this one, we literally walked down a corridor shouting at the entrance of a dungeon. And part of that's our frustration, which is being like, oh my god, another fucking grind of killing meaningless mooks for no reason. Like, part of that's just like, all right, let's get this over faster. And like, part of it's us being silly. But I did enjoy having the feeling that my turn decisions mattered. Like, I like that. Like, I don't like the combats where it's like, and maybe some of this is an issue with the resource system, and I'll have to think what this actually means for a campaign, but like, I don't like the combats where it's like, oh, I cast Firebolt again because I'm not spending resources because we only get one camp every 6 years, and we're gonna do boring shit versus boring mobs for 10 rounds. Like, no interest.
What's my no resource option? I still
Attack.
haven't figured that out.
What do you mean? What
That-
is it?
that's-
It's auto attack.
Dodge action.
Dodge.
No, it's
That-
dodge action. You
I
just
think
never did it
dodge
for the
much-
entire campaign.
Yeah, so I think my entire job was actually spread my arms really wide and dodge.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's actually my real job.
yeah, and you
Yep.
had set.
And then
For some
anytime
of the
anyone runs
fights,
past you,
definitely.
you hit them to sentinel them. I think that's
But
Yeah.
you're really down on Vengeance Paladin. I think Vengeance Paladin is amazing.
They
This
are.
is great.
I think that
I
better.
think the-
I think that better played. It's probably amazing.
The main
Yeah, I mean,
hindrance
once
you
you
had,
know
I
the
think, was the
rules.
fact that you were a dwarf. So losing 10 feet around is quite a lot.
5.
Yeah, but if you dashes,
Um,
that can make a big difference.
one thing I enjoy,
Especially when like we're min-maxing to the most and we're trying to keep just out of range of each other and stuff. 5 feet can make a big difference.
Go on, Dolphin.
one thing I enjoyed in the last fight, just to add on to what Filthy was talking about in terms of urgency, choices matter. I liked two things. One, I liked the idea that they were going after downed party members, because that to me makes sense. It's like, oh, they're still like hypothetically a threat. Like, I get the idea that this situation they would go after downed party members over a standing up party member because they were like so focused on just overwhelming us and things like that. So I think there was something to be said about maybe not going after down characters with that much urgency, but I kind of liked that. It made me feel like reason to make sure we're focusing on getting them up. So
Yeah,
But-
I'm back and
so-
forth on that. So the mechanic of you get part of this is because healing's so bad, right? So the mechanic of you get knocked unconscious, you're brought back to life. You're knocked unconscious, brought back to life is annoying, in some degree, but I don't like. I mean, it's so easy. If you're knocked on the ground unconscious, anything attacks you kills you basically.
yeah,
Because
that's
they
fair.
like if they walk over, it's literally 2 melee attacks, and everything has 2 melee attacks at past like level 3, right? So it's 2 melee attacks. They're guaranteed hits and they're guaranteed crits with melee attacks, and you only have 3 death saves. So that means if the creatures are focusing on killing party members just outright, you will die every single. Well,
Sure.
probably like half the times you get knocked unconscious, right? Because they're just it's gonna be like someone walks over and kills you. And to me, that I'm not super excited by that. So I like
Okay.
in general the idea that, I mean, if you're, maybe some of it is realistic or some of it isn't. Like if you're a band of thugs who are trying to kill our party, you don't worry about stabbing the guy who's out of the fight in the middle of the fight. You worry about we're in the middle of the fight. There's 3 other
I
guys
agree.
with armed swords trying to do that. So
Yeah.
I go
And I
back
think
and
you
forth
have
on
more
that.
perspective in terms of how that plays out, given the mechanics of the game. In terms of, hey, this shit's occurring, this is going for kill. You're going to be trying to cast Gentle Repose literally every turn if that's the way things are going to be happening. But I guess for me, that's what felt like. That's where I felt the most
The threat,
urgency.
yeah.
Was, oh my gosh, I need to make sure I'm casting my Gentle Repose. I need to make sure I'm going around healing everybody when they're down as much as I possibly can, or I'm going to permanently lose them. And to me, that was the most urgency I felt in the entire campaign. And I agree with you that you can't use that as a tool willy-nilly. It just was interesting because that's where that satisfaction of urgency came from.
I hope you feel like they only began to do that towards the end of the campaign.
Well,
Because
we talked
you'd
about
become
this, yeah.
such a thorn in their side that they just decided, right, no, now we just have to make sure that these adventurers
Sure.
are dead. We can no longer capture them or interrogate them. we just have to outright kill them because they're so much of a problem.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thought process I had as the cultists was to have, I think.
Sure, and it came across that way, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was good.
And yeah, I don't know. It's also I like the idea of my character can die. I want that to be a real possibility. At the same time, the penalty for death is a new character, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want it to be a situation where I'm on, because by the time you've done your third or fourth character in a single campaign, and speaking from someone who's on their third character for this campaign, you start to blend the personalities, lose the distinctness of each character, and it becomes often almost like a chore to make another character as opposed to a fun thing. And I generally like character creation. So there is something too about not wanting to design a game world or design a rule set where you're constantly dying, because the quest doesn't end, the adventure doesn't end. It's just now you have to roll a new character, and that's like, it's not really how you want it. I mean, maybe if we did something like, you know, there aren't, you don't get new characters back or something, you know, like if you want to play like a group till like it ends or something. But then what do we do for the, you know, everybody else's time?
So do we want to transition now into talking about the rules for the new campaign?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Should we cut the part here and do that as a separate part? It's been about an
Or
hour.
even
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We didn't want to leave on just like, you know, finish the fight and call it the end. So we wanted to give a little bit of perspective from our thoughts of the campaign and talk about some of the things we liked and didn't like about the campaign. And honestly, this is a really good time to crowdsource some of this, not the necessarily the creation of it, but for ideas here. If you guys have homebrew solutions or just thoughts on kind of the stuff we've been talking about, really good time to chime in on that and give us feedback, because we're about to start. Well, it's going to be a couple weeks off over Christmas, and then we're going to start the new campaign. And we're going to talk about in the next episode some of the things that we're thinking about, some of the changes we want to see, some of the things that are going to be done, some of the rule tweaks, etc. But this is a good time to get that feedback in. So please let us know. All right, guys, cut this part.